Hello from the man cave, doing a little arrow fletching this morning, and something that I've been getting a lot of questions about, and I get asked very often, and I guess it's one of those subjects that gets a little heated at times, but here goes anyway, and this is just going to be the bare bones basics of this, maybe another part later, and it's just basically, let's talk about the Constitution, shall we? That's what founded our nation, more specifically the Bill of Rights, that whole thing about the Fourth Amendment and unlawful search and seizure that protects us against that, and even the Fifth Amendment, the self-incrimination. So anyway, I get asked all the time, can law enforcement search your house? And we're not going to mention anybody specific or any names or any organizations, but most times this has to do with like the DNR, game and fish, that kind of thing. So you kind of know where this is going now. Anyway, I get asked a lot. They come knocking on my door and they said, somebody said that you, I don't know, shot a buffalo out of season or something, whatever it may be, whatever the case may be. They want to search your house, and they want to know, they always ask, well, they don't have to have a search warrant, and they can search without your consent. And Game and Fish has some magical something that supersedes the Constitution, I suppose, because I see it a lot on social media. But there's only two ways that someone involved with the government, and that's, we're specifically talking about anyone in law enforcement, can search your home. And number one is obviously with your consent. If you give consent, you basically are giving up your Fourth Amendment rights to unlawful searches. So based on your consent, they can look at anything they want. So consent is one. And number two is a search warrant. That is issued by a court, signed by a judge. Law enforcement usually makes application of that. And I speak of this, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not trying to give legal advice, but been in law enforcement for 20-some years, 23 years, I guess. So been around that process a lot. But the two ways that your house can be searched, your home can be searched, is number one with consent, and number two with a search warrant. That's it. That is it. There's no exceptions. There's no magical powers. One agency doesn't have any more authority than another. It's all vested by the Fourth Amendment. So the only two ways that your home can be searched is with consent or a search warrant. That's it. And you absolutely have the right to say no. If they've got probable cause, they'll come back with a warrant and they're going to search it. So, but they can't threaten you. They can't coerce you. They can't just do it anyway. If they do, they violate your Fourth Amendment rights. And the second thing that I usually get asked after that is, well, I was out fishing in my boat or camping or deer camp or whatever it may be, or driving, down the road, and you get checked and they want to search your boat and your camper. Law enforcement want to check your car. There's a lot of different exceptions, but the bare bones to that, it still comes back to the Fourth Amendment. You have the right to say no against consent. You have the right to revoke that consent at any time. Now, there's different circumstances with vehicles because they're movable and blah, blah, blah. That's a whole other topic. But the premise of it is there has to be consent or a search warrant, or with vehicles and such that's with probable cause. So, but you absolutely have that right to refuse that. So, sometimes those lines, those gray areas, they get stepped on a little bit because it's a consent thing. If you stand there, let's just say that you get contacted in the field by law enforcement out deer hunting, and you're obviously you haven't taken anything, you got your permits, they've asked to see your permit, you show the permit, you don't have any game or you don't have any fish, and they want to, they ask to see your rifles or your guns to check your plugs, or your if you're waterfowl hunting, steel shot versus lead shot, that all falls within a search. And most time that is consent. So if you're consenting to that contact, they can stand there and talk to you all day. So what you need to ask is, after you've shown the required permits and you've identified yourself, just ask if you're free to leave. And let's be honest, if you're free to leave, leave. That's the easy way, or that's the easiest answer. You don't have to stay there. If you're not free to leave, then you're being detained, then again, that falls into the Fourth Amendment, under the unlawful search and seizure, or the unlawful seizure of you as a person. And if there's not a reasonable circumstance to dictate that you being held, then you are no longer free to leave. Then they'll articulate that, and that's a whole different set of circumstances. But that's the question you just need to ask yourself, ask the officer that's there. Am I free to leave? And if you're free to leave, then just leave. You know, be respectful, be nice. We don't want to, you know, cause any problems, but just be educated and know your rights and what you can do and what you can't do. Now, don't, you know, you need to identify yourself, and if you're required to have a permit, most places, different states are all different. Different state has different regulations, but if your state has a law that says that you have to display your permit upon demand, you have to show your permit. So show your permit. But you don't have to submit to these searches, and without probable cause or consent or a warrant, they can't do the searches. So just, you know, am I free to leave? If you are, then just leave. So, but you can deny that search. You can say no, that you don't need to search that, which entails a lot of different things. So, you know, and it falls back on to if you're free to go, you also, you know, if you're the longer you're standing there, the longer you're going to talk, the more you're going to tell on yourself, in a sense. So, and believe it, some of us don't need to tell on ourselves any more than we have to. So that falls under the Fifth Amendment, and everybody knows the Miranda waiver, right? You have the right to remain silent. Well, some of us just need to be silent and just move on. So sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut. So that's kind of the way it is. But you know, you don't have to talk about your day. You don't have to answer questions. If you're being detained and you're being asked questions, then you need your Miranda rights read to you. So, I mean, this is a conversation that could go long and long and long and long and long. But I guess what I'm trying to say, and to sum up, is if asked, do you have to allow the search? The answer is no. And I think Nancy Reagan said it when she said, "Say no to drugs." Just say no. It's just that easy. So, all right. Y'all have a good day. Be nice out there. We're all sportsmen. Let's treat each other as sportsmen, and be safe.